Folks, I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick update on my introduction there. I've spent the last 25 years uh, working in the AV industry, and that started out with AutoPatch, where I was working as a manufacturing manager and a West Coast account manager for sales. And then as we were purchased by AMX and subsequently Harman and Samsung, the other roles that I've played has been sales engineer, service delivery manager, and now I'm part of the product application specialist group. So I'm looking forward today to talking a little bit about the products that we have here, and we're going to go over the 4K DVX presentation switcher today. As we go over this, I'll go through a quick overview of it, cover some of the features, the details. We'll get into some of the product accessories that go along with this and help make that full system. And then I've got a few drawings that I'll go through, kind of basic line drawings, just to give you an idea of some of the targets that we would this would fit into. And finally, we'll summarize at the end. So looking forward to it. Thank you to ADI for inviting me in today. So this is our new 4K DVX presentation solution. In this, we've not only included the latest AMX 4K HD-based technology, but we also built in the best of breed Crown, BSS, and DBX brands for superior audio quality. I think that's really a feature that really stands out, and we'll get into that, but it's really nice to have that. The other thing we've done is we've made this really easy to set up, configure, and test with this new HTML5 web interface that we've included in this unit. When we talk about our DVX 4K solution, the video performance is really unrivaled in the industry. We've added in the HDMI 2.0 for that crisp 4K video, and really we don't compromise any of the Chroma or Luma features in it. And where this is really important is when you start talking about when we're viewing text over a solid color. It really gives you that crisp, clean edge on those texts, and that's important when you're trying to present something to the up on that display. And so this system really does a nice job of doing that for us. The DVX is fully compliant with the latest standards, and we are fully compatible with the previous versions of HDCP. We're also running this solution with the latest Valens chipset. And so what we're doing there is we're delivering audio, video, Ethernet, USB 2.0, control and power over a single Cat6A cable. And one of the features on this that really makes this perform the way that it should is when you're speccing in the cable, our recommended cable is Cat6 shielded cable or better. And for best performance, the Cat6A shielded, Cat7 shielded will give you the best performance on this. Couple other things on this, our DVX automatically locates our DX link transmitters and receivers at the time of connection, and it binds them to the ICS LAN. And we'll get into the LAN and ICS LAN ports here in a little bit. But it really does save a lot of time and effort if you've got people setting this up in the field. We have something that we developed years ago called Smart Scale, and essentially what that does is when you plug into a display, our system will go out and pick up the EDID information from that display and bring that back, and then it basically allows us to send the best signal that's going to fit that display out there. And that does that for getting the correct basically getting the correct resolution to every display. HD-based compatibility in this means that the product will work with any compatible HD-based projector, display, unit that you connect to it. And you can cable it directly with no receiver set up. So the one thing that you lose in that, if you don't have our receiver connected, is you do lose the smart scale, and you will need to rely on the scale of the projector or the display that you're connected to. We've made configuration easy on this also by adding that endpoint auto config, and like I mentioned earlier, basically you just plug in the DX link transmitter receiver, the DVX goes out, discovers it, says, hey, I found this unit, and now I'm going to bind it to the network that we've got, and that's all done automatically. So it again, it really simplifies the whole connection process for you. From a network perspective, the DVX only requires one IP address, and this gets into that LAN versus ICS LAN. And the advantage of this is that when you have an IT manager who's trying to set up his network and he wants control of IP addresses, but he doesn't want to have to manage any more than he has to. We've really set this up in such a way that they only have to manage one IP address. And the ICS LAN on the other side of it then takes care of all of the transmitter receiver IPs, the display, all of that type of stuff. And that's back behind a proprietary network. So again, it's really nice for the IT managers to only have to manage that one IP address of this system. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we did add that mobile-friendly HTML5 config tool. And so to set this thing up, there's really no software required. It's all built in, and you can set up and manage the system. I don't have a live demo today on the new web interface, but essentially this is what it looks like. And it gives you the ability to come in here and take a look at, switching. You can basically switch sources to outputs. You can come in here, you can set up your audio system in here. There is a legend that goes with this, and in that legend, all of this gives you some information. So for example, we have this green section here. We're going out and we're measuring the distance of the cable that we're connected to our transmitter. And that tells us whether we have a good signal or not and a good connection. If this went red, that may be an indication that, hey, we're not getting the best signal pushed through that. And so we need to go out and check our cable to be sure that that cable is connected properly and functioning right. It's things like that it gives us information on. So very nice system, and something that's built in to the unit itself. We've also built in an NX processor to this, and that NX processor actually runs the ICS LAN side of this, or the private network. With that, we included LDAP integration, and it's another level of security that basically allows only the folks that are approved to actually get in and make changes to the system in here. Again, the IT managers are going to like that feature because it gives them that extra level of security and control capability. Because we've dedicated that network, video is never transmitted across the enterprise network. So between the LAN and the ICS LAN, there is no bridge for that connection. So you never get that video being pushed across the enterprise network. Another thing in this that I want to talk about for just a minute is the FIPS 140-2. That is a federal information processing standard which the US and Canada came up with, and it's basically a security standard for hardware, software, and firmware. At least in US government procurement, all solutions that use this cryptography must complete the FIPS 140 validation. So just knowing that you've got that, if you have government customers that you're working with, those types of things, this is another feature that has been built in and tested and approved in the system. So what I want to do right now is just jump into the, what the front and back panel look like and some of the features on it. So the first thing we've got is we've got a beautiful new look to it, which, when you're putting this in a rack, it's always nice to have something that's nice looking. We've taken it to a 2RU size, and the older DVX legacy models were up at 3RU, so we've actually decreased the amount of rack space required. We've got simple front panel controls built into this, and we also added a USB HID connection in the event that you needed to plug in a keyboard or mouse and tie into something out in the, out in the distance for a connection to control something. From the audio side of it, we have 6 mic line inputs right in this area. We have 2 stereo audio inputs, 2 audio outputs, and then we also have an amp out, which is either 4.8 ohm or 7100 volt. And finally, we added in some Dante audio to this, and so we have 8 channels in, 8 channels out capability for the Dante audio connections, which is another nice feature when you're working in this with a larger system. For the video side of this, we have 4 HDMI connections and 2 DX Link distance inputs. We also have on the output side 1 HDMI local port, and then we've got a local HDMI mirrored DX Link output, which gives us that distance output to a display or a projector. On the 3266 model, you're going to see that it looks pretty much identical. Same look, same size, same features on the front panel. We've got the same audio as in the smaller 2265 model. Where we made the difference here is we added 2 more HDMI inputs, 2 more DX Link inputs, and then we've added on the output side 1 HDMI output and an extra HDMI DX Link output. So again, nice from the size standpoint to, if you need a little bit bigger unit, a few more inputs and outputs, you've got the capability here to do that. On our new DX Link, DVX 4K solution, we do have built-in control ports on the back of it for that local control. And so I'll get into those in just a minute. One thing I wanted to share with you on the control ports for the DX Link, we've got those built into the transmitters and receivers. So you do have some distance control that you can tie in. And then if you need more control in the room, other than what you have available on the back of this unit, we've built what we call expansion boxes, which provides control via the LAN port. And so it does give you the ability to expand this system for control to just about any size you need to make it function in the room you're tying in. When we talk about the ports on the back of the unit itself, we have the 2 serial, 2 relay, 2 IO, 2 IR, and then this LAN port, that's for the enterprise LAN system to plug in, and that's where you'd pick up that one IP address from the IT manager. We also have the 1 ICS LAN port on here, which allows you to expand that ICS LAN connectivity to the system. In this system, we also pass USB 2.0 through the system. So in the case of the example I've got here, I've got a laptop, and I've also got a Vibe, basically speaker and camera setup that I want to tie into and make sure that I have USB flowing back and forth to this. So I can do that by just connecting in from the laptop to our USB port on the transmitter. I feed that down the DX link cable to the input of the DVX. It flows through to the output, up to the receiver, and then off the USB port over to the camera and speaker system that we have set up in this example. So it does give you that full capability to be able to pass that USB 2.0 through the system. So let's talk about some product accessories that go along with this. There will be times when maybe you want to, you need to have a conference room that's set up, and it's got, in our case, we call it the Hydraport setup. That's a connectivity for the tabletop. Underneath of that, we may want to be able to tie in, multiple pieces, and then just send that out, to the DVX for distribution out to the different displays in the room. The VPX is a great example of that. We've got a little 4x1 presentation switcher and a 7x1. And again, these are typically used for table mounting in conference rooms. They could be used in flipped classroom environments, or as in the case we're going to show here in a moment, we can use them in combination with the DVX DGX. And we will take a little bit closer look on where you find these things when we get into a later slide here. We also are releasing our new 4K 60 444 DVX DX link transmitters and receivers, and these basically give you the ability to pass that 4K 60 444 through the system. We are using the latest standards of HDMI, and we also have added HDR support to this system in the event that you've got somebody who has a device that wants to pass HDR through that system. These are also fully HD-Base-T compliant, and we'll talk a little bit more about these when we get down to the bottom as far as when we're going to ship and those types of things for you. Earlier on, I talked about those EXB boxes, and this is one of those product accessories. And so on the EXB, we have 5 different boxes that give you different capabilities, but there's actual boxes we can tie in to expand that control network for relays, COM ports, RS-232 ports, our IR ports, IO, and then we've got a box that has multiple ports on it, an RS-232, an IO, and an IR capability. And again, it's nice to have these when you look at a system and you say, gosh, this control piece is out where it's not as convenient to get to, but I have a LAN cable. I'll just plug this in and drop that right in, and our control system can then tie into that box and pass that control to the unit you're trying to manage. We also have an architectural solution, and we call these Hydraports. 3 different box styles, many different models, or I should say modules to select that slide into these boxes. And this is all configurable by you. And so we do have an online configurator. I'm going to pull that over here and just do a quick review of this for you so you know where that's at. So you would find this under products, architectural, and connectivity, and and then our Hydraport connections, and that takes you to this page. If you want to configure it, you can click on Configure Now, and then this gives you the ability to come in and select. Just as a side note, we haven't updated our website, but these last 4 have been discontinued with the flip-up touch panels. So it's really the 3 boxes, and there's different colors here. You can either have the chrome look or the black. I'm just going to do a quick configuration for you and give you an idea of what the output is. So in this box, I want to add an HDMI cable to this that's a retractable, so it's easy to pull in. I also may want a VGA cable in here. And then I think I want some power, and a lot of people have USB devices that need charging once in a while, so I'm going to drop that in, and I'm also going to drop in a power box. Once I've completed that, and I look at it and go, well, that looks like everything I need, I can come in here, hit the save and print button, and what that produces for me is it gives me an area to plug in my project details, the location that I created this for, you know, emails, those types of things, any notes on the project, how many of these I might want, and whether I want to install a router guide or not, which is just a guide that helps you get the hole cut in the table. Once I've got that all done, that kicks up to my report here. And so when I print this report, I can either print it or save it as a PDF, but when I print this, it gives me the ability to get an actual drawing of it, and also all the part numbers and a description of what I've put in that box that can be passed on to your procurement people on this. Also, I can save this to a file, and that saves to my local computer. And then once I've got that file saved, if I want to come back and edit the design later, I can reload this file and I can edit that design just by going up to the edit design button and going, well, you know, I really didn't want a VGA. I'll take that out, and I want to go ahead and add a retractable display port in here. And so in that, then I can say, well, I need to adjust that also. So I can click on that, I can adjust up and get that reset the way I want it and lined up the way I want it laid out in the box. And then I can go through that and resave it and run with it from there. So that gives you a quick overview of the Hydraport and what we do with that connectivity. And again, I'll show you here in some drawings where that kind of comes into play in the room. So let's jump on to the next slide. Our website has a lot of information on different things, and so as you can see, you know, just like with that configuration tool, we've got that built in over there. I'm going to go back over to that website for just a minute and just take you through a product. So as you find the products, let's say I'm looking for that DVX, you know, I come down to presentation switchers, and I can come down here and find that DVX presentation switcher. Inside of that, it'll give me a little information on you know, general things like picture quality and the fact that it's 4K 60, ties in the Harman audio, some of the things we've been talking about, the HTML web page, ties that all in. And then down at the bottom, I've got all the different DVX models that are out there. So in this case, I'm just going to jump over to the 3266. And this provides you the ability to take a look at different views of it, front, back. It gives an overview description of the system. We can go into some common applications here where it gives you an idea of where these might fit as you're working through that. We do have some videos and things, and in this case, I guess we don't have any videos tied into this particular one yet because it's a fairly new product, but eventually those will be tied in. We do have the downloads area where you can pick up a spec sheet and other downloads as they become available to us. And then you've got the feature area, and this really goes into all the different features of the system. We have a specifications area where you can get the basic specs. If you need to get further specification or you don't see a specification that was tied in up here on the front, you can download this DVX spreadsheet and it will get into all the specifications on the unit out there. And then finally, we get down to the recommended accessories. And so all of these different things are accessories that are available, and some of the things that we've talked about in this presentation so far. When you look at any one of our products as we go down through here, this is the common theme that you'll see throughout our whole website. So it does give you the ability to have some nice solutions there. We also have some learning sessions available out here. And so when you click on that on our website, it does give you the ability to come out and view any live workshop events that might be going on. It also gives you the ability to look at any recorded events and work through a playlist there and select those things. You can tie into on-demand courses in the event that you want some additional training, and those will be out there and available for you. And so that really gives you an idea of some of the areas where you can tie in and get a lot of information fairly quickly. Let's jump on to the next slide here. So when we talk about product targets, you know, when you look at these DVX solutions, a small to mid-sized classroom, conference room, something of that nature, I've done just a quick line drawing and give you an idea of how things might connect up. So I've got a server and maybe some kind of a content player feeding into this system. I've also got, because I'm in a conference room or a small classroom, I've got an area where I want some connectivity. So I've added in the Hydraport to have that connectivity to from the table back off to the DVX. And because of the fact that I do have this out at a table, I need to get, you know, I don't want to try to connect all of these back to this DVX and drag some long lines out there. So in this is where I've added that VPX that we talked about. And it's given me the ability to just tie in the audio video and feed that over one Cat 6 cable off to the DVX. And then on the output of this, I have a small display coming off HDMI. That could be a confidence monitor sitting in the room, or it could just be a smaller monitor to, hanging on the wall to make sure people in the back of the conference room would have better viewing capability. And I've also hung off of this the main display, and that's going out to a DX Link receiver that gives us the ability to control and pass video and audio through to this display. For sound support in the room, I've tied in the amp output and just gone directly out to some JBL speakers that are sitting in the room. Also on this table, in the event that it's a conference room or something like that, you may want to have mics coming off of that. Those mics can tie directly into the mic inputs on the DVX, and then that can be managed via the BSS DSP that's built into the DVX in this. The one other thing I'll make a note of is in here, from a control standpoint in this room, we just added our touch panel control BYOD license, and basically any device coming in that has access to that BYOD can be able to control this room via, you know, an iPad, a phone, anything like that. Anything that will give you the ability to connect to the system, you can control it via that method. So no touch panels in this room type if you don't want to have them. From a standpoint of the executive boardroom, this is just a little bit larger system. This does tie in some cameras to the unit. We still have the server, the media content, but we've also added a wall plate for connectivity in the event that, because it is a little bigger room, somebody needs to connect into this. We've added the HPX or the Hydraport 1200 systems, both on both ends of the main table. And that ties into this VPX that then ties into the DVX feed to get out to all of the displays on the system. In this, we've also added a 20-inch touch panel on the table, and that gives us the ability to link in, and we have a device called a multi-preview live, which would feed up to this touch panel all of the sources and give us the ability to select those sources and get those out to the different displays in the room. So a little simpler way to manage that that control. And then finally, I'm showing a mid-sized lecture hall here. And so back in the equipment room, we have our server. We've got a cable TV tuner that we're feeding in now. At the podium, we've got a touch panel. We do have a connectivity port on here, as well as some kind of an overhead and other content player that can be all managed right from the podium. And that's going in through this VPX solution, one DX link to the DVX. We've also added wall plates around the room for connectivity in the event that somebody wants to present from a different location in the room. And on the output side, I have 3 displays in this case, and they're all at a distance. And so 2 of these ports are DX link right off the system. The other were coming HDMI off, hitting a DVX, or a DX link transmitter and going out to a receiver. So we've still got that distance out to the projector and the main display to the room. In this room, we've also added the capability to have a wall control, as well as on the outside of the room, a scheduling panel. So all of these things can be tied into any one of the DVX solutions, but this gives you some basic ideas of some of the targets that are out there, and maybe some possible uses as we work through this. And then finally, I'm going to spend a little time just recapping some of the product features for you. We'll get through that. And so first of all, on the video features, we've got the HDMI 2.0, HDC 2.2. Resolutions that we pass through this are 4096 by 2160, which is full 4K. And that's at full resolution capability. And that basically, we can do anything up to that in there. We talked about smart scale and the fact that we have that built into all of our HDMI outputs, as well as the DX Link receivers. We've got the new DX Link 4K60 transmitter, and we support all of that. And we also support HDR. From an audio side of this, we have the BSS DSP built in. We've got independent mix, 10-band parametric EQ, and the 4 unique audio outputs. We do have optional phantom power for the mics if that's required in the room. And that also has a 3-band parametric EQ for each of those analog mic inputs. We do independent gain and compression on each of the audio inputs, and we've got 120 watt per channel crown amp built into this, which is nice. I think a lot of the systems out there today don't have that type of horsepower when it comes to the amp. And so, you're talking 25, 30 watts per channel in a lot of the systems that are out there today. This is one of the areas where I think we've done a great job with the audio of really incorporating those best of breed solutions. And finally, we've got the Dante capability with the audio freely mixed and routed through the system. When we talk about NetLinks, it is a built-in NetLinks processor. It's basically the equivalent of a 3200 processor. It is standard NetLinks platform in there, and Linux operating system. This is CloudWorks ready. So we haven't talked much about CloudWorks, but that is going to be our new capability when it comes to the control platform as we move forward. And so all of our new designs are being built around that CloudWorks thought process and being designed to be ready for CloudWorks when that new control system comes out. and that's still ways down the road. So, but it is nice to know that anything that you purchase is capable of handling CloudWorks when it comes available. We do have the private ICS LAN port built into this, so it gives you that private network behind the scenes of the main enterprise network. And then we've built in control ports on the back of the unit for local control. DX Link, that's serial and IR routing. It is point-to-point HID and USB 2.0. And we have that auto configuration, which I think is a great feature because it really, it's a time saver if you've ever set up those systems. From a pricing perspective, the 6x2 MSRP is right at 7,000, and the 8x4 is right at 9,000. Obviously, you know, as you get into those pricing conversations, you can work with your reps, and they'll get you any pricing that you need. And so, in summary, this is our all new, you know, DVX 4K solution, and you know, we're really excited about this from the standpoint that we do have that legendary audio quality, you know, built into it from all those brands that, you know, are the best in breed brands out there. And it's all tied up in one clean, simple to use box. Looking forward to, you know, getting this out and having this available to you in the market. Our target release date on this, we're looking at mid-July for the DVX 4K solution, and that's on target. So everything's routing into our warehouses right now, and so these will be available here very shortly. And the new 4K 60 DX transmitters and receivers, I had them targeted for mid-September, and I meant to change this on here. I got a note the other day that it looks like these are going to come in that July timeframe also, and so it'll all tie together. In the event that you did, you know, we did have a delay on these, we can use our 4K 30 DX Lite transmitters and receivers, and they're available right now. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that. And